I had last week when I logged into my phone, I can see people's comments,
Yes.
but on the computer, I cannot.
Well, I think it's a trade-off because last week we had massive echo. Sorry, people, we had echo and the bunnyman, or just regular echo, and this week we don't.
Right.
I'll take that over most things.
So we are live.
We are definitely live. We're
All
27
right.
seconds.
So let me
And
pop
today we're
over
talking about 80.
80-20 rule.
There it is. What the
So,
hell does that mean? Why are you even talking about that?
so 80-20 rule, I think, is something that especially a lot of us in this industry, we kind of become a jack of all trades. And, there's more to it than that, but that's a big part of it. And it's important to understand where we should be putting our time and priorities and to stay most effective and more profitable. And
Yeah, energy. How,
yeah,
how do you put it in the right place? Where do these numbers come from? Why is it even a thing? So there was this guy named Pareto, and he had a principle, and he made it up like 100 and some years ago that 80% of the people do 20% of the work, and 20% of the people do 80% of the work. And this works in so many different ways. Like 20% of the people spend 80% of the money. Although there's more women than men, so there should be a higher number there, but that's just me thinking out loud. So I'll just
how about, well, you said 80%, 20% of the
yeah,
people.
yeah. But
So, so actually, I'm impressed that you know so much about the gentleman that created it, and I guess I should know that about you at this point. So I got a fun fact before we get going, right? So we're talking about the 80-20 rule.
I like fun. What do you got? What do you got?
So my wife got COVID last Christmas,
Oh, Merry
and
Christmas.
she was sick. Well, it was the Monday after Christmas. I think Christmas was on a Saturday, and Monday she didn't get sick, but she felt her heartbeat funny.
Mm,
She tested herself positive. She worked out every day, asymptomatic, blah blah blah. But she, I never got COVID, so I got intrigued. Right, if COVID is so crazy and whatever, why didn't I get COVID? Making out with my wife Saturday, Sunday, Monday morning. You know what I mean? So why didn't I get it? And so I did some research, and what they said is 10 to 20% of the population spread it to 80% of the population.
mhm.
80-20 rule. And they call them super spreaders. So 10 to 20 is the guesstimated number of the population, 10 to 20% are super spreaders of COVID. They don't know what determines a super spreader at that time. I don't know if they've changed.
I think it's
And
airplanes.
maybe. Um, and they give it to most of the population. So 80-20 rule is part of our entire life, I think, no matter where we look at it.
Yes. And,
So,
and it does change a little bit. Sometimes it's 85, 15, sometimes it's 75, 25. There's a rule. And the rule is really simple. We call it the 80-20 rule, but it's flexible.
it's
So the biggest thing we want to talk about is how can we make that rule make us money and save us time and energy and allow us to be more effective in our lives.
so technically it's called the roughly 80-20 rule.
Yeah, give or take.
So
Yeah.
and just to kind of nutshell it, it's 20% of your efforts will produce 80% of the results. And it goes the other way too.
Yeah, we don't want it to, though.
Yeah. So, do you want to talk about how to use it first or where you can apply it?
Let's look at the applications. There's several different applications for it, right? So 20% of the people get to drive one of these. 80% of the people get to look. Which one do you want to be? It's a choice. It really is.
Right. So, I mean, the 80-20 rule, so we're talking business owners here. Whoops, I just pulled on my stuff. Is, applied in all aspects of your business, right? You think about it. The biggest one to me is 20% of your employees Actually, well, customers or employees, 20% of them cause 80% of the problems. And I know no matter where you are in this industry, you can relate with the fact that 20% of your customers cause 80% of the problems. And the concept of the 80-20 rule, and it's not as cut and dry as this, but if you can continuously eliminate, that bottom barrel and keep refining that 80-20 rule, it's going to get better and better and better and better.
Yeah, 90-10, better than 80-20.
So if you're constantly looking at, let's use employee or customers, and you're constantly getting rid of the bottom 20% of the customers that are causing 80% of the problems, and that's what I meant before, but I can go the other way.
Yes.
Obviously, your customer base is going to consistently get better, right? So that bottom 20% may not be so bad anymore, but you can keep going.
Yeah, and we can look back at when you were $60 an hour, what kind of customers you had at that point, and what kind of pain that they were, and then when you bumped it by $40 an hour, or whatever it was, how many of those assholes went away real quick?
Yep.
Yeah.
So it can be applied. I'm gonna pull my notes up here because.
Okay.
So customers, we'll talk about that first, I guess. That's the easy one. We just discussed 20% of the customers are 80% of the problems. You also could say 20% of your customers spend 80% of the money.
I like that part.
Yep. Also, I like the part, roughly 20% of the customers refer 80% of your people.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm sure if you guys are asking who's sending you or who referred you or how'd you hear from us, which we ask, pretty much every customer, I'd say 95%.
80%?
More than that.
Okay.
I thought about saying it, but it wasn't true.
Because you changed. It probably was 80% at one point, and now you upgraded it, right? So it's much better.
It was 0% at one point.
Ooh, that's really bad.
Yeah.
I love the question.
I conducted business. I didn't.
Which question do you ask when you're asking?
So we go through a list of questions, email, phone number. And in that list, we say, can I ask how you heard about us? And they'll give us the answer. I was referred. Oh, can I ask who referred you? Mm-hmm. Or I searched you on the internet. Oh, was it Google, Facebook? And then my staff is required to add that into the notes of that customer field, just so that we're noting it and we can look back and see where most of them are coming from. Yeah. And I can say for sure that when it comes to referrals, I hear the same people or dealership, not dealership necessarily, but garage, over and over and over again. So it's that 20% referring 80% of my customers.
Right. The other 80% is just Google, right?
Yeah. Google's the other big one. So, and since we're here, we'll just kind of get into this part, which I think I have is next. So I now know I want to concentrate my efforts into that 20%, right? How can I groom that 20% to make them happier? I'm going to send that dealership pizza for lunch, send them donuts for breakfast, right? Continue feeding them.
Fatten them up.
Yeah. Maybe send those customers that keep popping up a thank you card, right? It's a small gesture because they keep sending us business. So you can use it to see where you want to concentrate your efforts to keep refining that 20%. Refining wasn't quite the word I'm looking for there, but
growing,
priming it.
Yeah.
So, with customers, I don't know if this is really a topic for today, but one of the things that I was always told to do is you come up with a dream list of who your top customers are, maybe your top 20% of your customers, and that's who you target. And you're going to scoop up other people along the way. And, that's a really good way to run a business and kind of try to go big. I feel that
brings up the other question. Who is your customer? Because if you don't know, everybody's going to be your customer, and that's where you get 80% of the problems.
Yeah. Well, I feel like a lot of us in this industry, we do try to cater to everybody. Yeah. So a quick example, my sales guy came back to me yesterday and said, "Hey, how do you feel about using just a basic lock in this newer modern car?" And I said, "Well, I mean, I don't like it. What are we trying to do?" He's like, "Well, the guy's trying to, cut costs and this and that." I said, "So we're working harder to do a job cheaper, and what happens every time we do that, right? So that customer doesn't fit our 20%. See you later."
Mhm.
And that's another topic for another day
Oh,
too.
yeah.
But
So how do you do that and not lose the customer or get them to understand that this is not who we are? This is not what we're ever going to do. If you want what we have to offer, these are the things you got to do. A, spend more money. B, look at what you really, really want and get an understanding of what it's going to take. Is that possible, or are we going to part ways?
right. And you can educate the customer, you can show them the value, and if they just can't see it, that customer is going to come back with problems or they're going to be upset. I mean, he was trying to use a basic lock without audio signal turn on. That car's going to have major bass roll off. I think it was a newer Subaru too, which is like some of the worst cars for that AccuBase there.
Yep.
Um, and it's not worth it.
Right.
So,
If you want me to go in there and fuck up your car, you just go down the street and do it, because that's not my job.
right. I don't need you to be unsatisfied with my work.
No.
And the only other thing is anyone else that sits in that car, like, man, this bass sucks at high. Like, why is the treble so loud? At high volume. Oh, Act Audio did it.
Yeah.
No matter what you told that customer, they're not going to say, "Well, Act Audio did it, but they told me not to be cheap."
No, they never do that. They blame.
So, right. So we're going on a tangent here, but that was a good one.
But it's still part of the 80-20 rule,
No,
right?
it is.
So delving into the aspect of that about the customer, the 80-20 customer, can you convert the 80 into the 20 that you really, really want? Or do you try to a certain point and then say, nah, it's not worth it. You can go away now. Thanks.
So I think you try to a certain point. Where that point is tough because you definitely want to take the time. You want to educate them. You want to spend it with them because they don't know most of the time. Maybe
Right.
they've never experienced that. So they don't realize how shitty that is, right? Oh, it's no big deal. I'll just adjust my bass knob.
Mm-hmm.
But after doing it constantly, they're like, this sucks. Or like the customer that comes in, and I know we've all dealt with this. Well, I just need a cheap radio. I don't need steering wheel controls. And then they're driving away going, shit, I use these more than I thought I did.
Yeah.
And I won't do that anymore.
Yeah. Or in 40, I don't want to have too much bass. I don't want to be like that kid going down the street. Then they leave and it's like, where's the bass?
Yeah. I always tell my customers, I'd rather you be able to turn it down than wish you could turn it up.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
pretty, yeah, and it works because it's the truth, right? Mm-hmm. I'd rather not use it all and play it safe than wish you had more. And once you're into the package, the other thing I explain to my customers, once you're into that package, to get a little more bass isn't that much more money. That base cost is still all there.
Yeah, infrastructure's in. Let's see what works best.
Right.
Here's your 4 gauge. Here's your 1,000-watt amp. What do you like?
And wire it down and get a little less, and you can always change it.
Yeah.
So, anything else you want to talk about on customers?
Yeah, I have a sister. Her name is Karen, and she really is. I would never sell her anything. There's 20% of the people in the population like that. And sorry for any Karen that's watching that's not like that. But my experience has been that when you get red flags in your head, it's like, oh, this person's going to be a problem. Lose them quickly. Don't let them be part of that 20% pain in the ass, because really, it's not worth it.
So I don't think he'll ever watch this, but my best friend is that person. And I have come to a point where I just don't do work for him anymore. Yeah. And we're actually in a bit of an argument right now because he's pissed at me because I won't do work for him. But he's 100% that person. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't fit my customer that I want in my store. And even though he's my best friend, I refuse to do work for him. Mm-hmm. He's super cheap. He wants the best performance, super cheap, and everything is a pain. So sorry.
Yeah. Know your customer.
Yeah. So I got a question.
Yeah.
If a customer comes in to you
Mhm.
and you got to talk to them and their name is Karen,
Mm-hmm.
do you feel bad calling them Karen?
No. I don't paint people with the same brush.
No, I know. It's just the way that stereotype is
Yes.
of a Karen. So now it's
But
like,
it always made me laugh that her name is Karen, and she's 52 years old. And the term wasn't then what it is now, but she's a bitch. She would clear the room at Christmas time. Like, seriously, I want nothing to do with her. I haven't talked to her in I don't know how many years, and there's no reason for me to ever talk to her again. Knowing your customer is kind of like picking your family.
yep.
Sometimes it's like picking your nose. It's just natural. But other times it's really tough just to saying, you know what? You're really toxic and you could just fuck off kindly.
Oh, I had to do it. I've had to
Yeah,
do it many times.
it happens.
So, um, employees,
Oh,
right?
yeah. There's a good one.
80 20 rule applies to employees. We kind of covered that a little.
Mhm.
20% of the employees will cause 80% of the problems. So you got a small team, 5 people. There's that one employee that's always, always late, always this, always that.
Wait. I got one for you. If you don't know which employee that is, it's you.
Yep. So, but if you're as a business owner trying to refine your business and you have that one employee that's always causing problems and you let him go, it always makes the rest of the business better,
Well, yeah,
right?
they're by relief, they will spot, all that stuff, right?
And then there's a new 80/20, right? Because
Oh,
then there's going to be a new employee that, and maybe they're not as bad, but
or you just change the ratio by hiring better.
right.
It's still an 80-20 rule, but it could be 10-90.
Um, so that's pretty simple for employees. I don't know if there's
Mm-hmm.
anything else you want to add there. That's
Yeah.
cut and dry.
Mine watching this.
Um, services, right? Services you offer or provide follows the same rule, right? There's that core group of services that are your most profitable, easiest, whatever it is.
And they change.
They do change.
Yeah. Remember dash cams when they made tons of money, or headlights, or there's just such evolution all the time. So keep an eye on it.
Yeah. So I think that it's good to assess your 80/20 regularly
Mm-hmm.
across the board, and sometimes, like I can say, I don't always have to take action because, the situation, but I'm always paying attention to what's what.
Mm-hmm.
But you look at the services, there's another part of it is if you start adding, so like you're really good at high-end car audio, but you want to branch out and you want to start sewing and doing this and doing that.
Details,
Well,
and pops, and lights, and yeah.
you become so spread out that you can't concentrate the audio anymore and you're not as profitable at the other stuff. So as a business owner, my opinion is don't spread your store out like and have your employees doing it. If you want to start a new division, hire someone that specializes in it. Where a lot of times I feel where at least I've done in the past where I have my employees, okay, we're going to learn how to do this now. Right. So I got a young kid. He's really good at audio. We sent him to detailing school and that's what he wanted to do and this and that. Well, the detailing, we never got good at it. Tinting too is another one. We never got very good at it, but he was good at audio. All my money from him came from when he was working on cars, doing audio. So why did I spread him out? Why did I take him away from that?
That's what we do. If one is good, more is better.
So, there's also not only that, but with services, we all have services that just aren't profitable or what's the word I'm looking for?
They're not effective.
Yeah, they cause problems.
Yeah.
Or even you can say brands.
Yeah.
So
Some
you could
brands,
be carrying that lower end brand in your store that causes most of the problems.
or even when it's a good name brand that you know that there's a problem, like the 709, for example. We wouldn't sell any until they came up with a solution. So we didn't even offer it.
What is that? The 709.
It's
Like the
a it's a head unit that had some issues with it. You would plug it in, and it would say that the speaker wires weren't hooked up correctly. Really putting it back on the installer, right? So we
Yeah.
thought, hell no. Why would we ever install that? So we didn't. And then they came up with a fix, and now, yeah, they're fine.
Is that Exelon?
I didn't want to name any brands.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Sorry.
But they all have it. So like, there's another brand that it would say if there's a speaker shorting going bad,
Mhm.
miswire, please check connections.
Yes. You got a loose wire.
You're getting all these phone calls. Oh, my radio says you installed it wrong.
Yeah.
It's like, come on. It's a bad speaker. I guarantee. I mean, 90%, 80% confidence, a bad speaker.
Yeah.
So it can go for services. It can go for products. All that stuff. So
yes. Vendors especially, because they changed the rules. So I had one change how they took my money. So I used to pay credit card, and then they said no, we want e-transfer. It's like, okay, but in Canada we can only e-transfer 40 grand a month. That's it. That's what Interact says we can do. Limitations, right? So in the Christmas time period, like I buy fucking a lot more than that. Then they want their money back, and it's like, well, you changed the rule. It's your problem.
yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
But you're right. Vendors is on my list.
Mm-hmm.
Vendors, same thing. You want to look at the vendors that are taking care of you and helping you out. There's an 80-20 rule there. I don't think we should get into vendors too much because
No.
I don't want to slip.
One example.
So another one, the next two I got are really good for business owners. One is tasked, right?
Nice.
20% of your task will yield 80% of your results. And if you can figure out what that 20% is and really maximize, you can better improve your time management. If you're improving your time management, in theory, you're going to become a more effective leader because you're going to be having more free time to spend with your employees and things like that.
Mm-hmm. An example would be answering the phones, delegating that out to somebody else, saying, this is your time period to do that, or giving them some specific information on how to deal with that, training them properly, which means that you don't have to answer the phones unless there's something specific for you, giving you way more time to deal with other stuff.
Yeah. And actually, you guys want to hack. What I do at my store is I am not here, or I am in a meeting, or I am with the customer. Mm-hmm. So anytime someone calls for me, hey, can I talk to James? He's with the customer. Can I help you? And because a lot of times it's just, I just need to make an appointment.
Oh, I hate that. Drives me nuts.
All the time. So my employees will always say that I'm not here. Can I take a message? And then if they realize it's someone important, they'll go, oh, hold on. He's getting free.
Yeah. I always tell them I'm in a meeting.
Yeah. They do that too.
Just
with
my
doors closed, they do.
I'm always in a meeting.
But it's delegating that, you got someone there for that in your store, in theory, unless you're a one-man show, that does that for you.
But you can still do that as a one-man show. All those credit card companies, yeah, we'd like to speak to the credit card merchant guy. It's like, he's not here.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I used to do that all the time because I used to work the front all the time. Yeah. So I the owner's not here at the moment. What something I can help you with?
Right. So I don't know how you did it, but I made an Excel spreadsheet showing what I do every day, what I do every week, what I do every month. And I prioritized them 1 through 10 or 20 or whatever it was at the time. And I thought, well, I don't really need to do this. I could give this to this guy to take care of. And I started thinning out that sheet more and more, where the daily stuff is like pretty minimal. And it gives me a chance to go on holidays.
Yeah. So there's two things that I've learned in some of the business stuff that I can use to apply there. One is a time study. So what they recommend doing is every 15 minutes, carry around a pad, every 15 minutes, mark down what you were doing. Now, if you did something for an hour, you don't mark it down every 15 minutes, you mark it down for the hour, right? But if you're changing tasks every 15 minutes, mark it down. Then you look at those tasks and you say, ideally, what is the category? Trying to fix this camera. What is the categories of each task? Is it a sales job, installer job, your job? And can you delegate any of it? And if you can't delegate any of it, can you automate it? Right? So as you go through that list, you look at what you can delegate, what you can automate, and then sometimes you can just eliminate things because there's stuff in that list that might be like, you know what? I wonder if I never did this again, would it affect my business? Would it affect anything? Because I learned that, and I can't think of any good examples, but we become so routine that we just sometimes do things and you're like, you know what? You're right. I don't have to do that anymore. But you're still doing it because that's what you always did.
And what happens if you do what you always did?
You don't grow.
You always get what you always got.
Right. I'm trying to think of a good example of that one. But I did a lot of the delegating, and this is in one of the books I've read by Thomas Keenan. He called it buckets, and I think it's a beautiful analogy where you can also look at that list and you assign everything a bucket: $10, $100, $1,000, and $10,000. $10,000 is your family time, personal time, your time. $1,000 is your business owner time, marketing, coaching, teaching, things like that. Your $100 is answering the phone, sales, technician, stuff like that. And then your $10 is your, stocking shelves, putting things away, like the little things. And the more time you spend in those $10, $100 buckets, the less time you're spending in the $1,000, $10,000 buckets.
Right. And so if you had those buckets on a piece of paper and you had an 80-20 rule, how could you convert the important stuff into the better buckets?
Right. But it's usually delegating the little things so you can spend more time on the big things.
And who can you delegate it to? Who do you think trusts? Right. But every shop has that guy that's like, maybe he could do it. Let's find out.
So, and there's two sides of that, right? One, you got to have some sort of process. If you want to delegate it, you got to have some sort of process for them. But at the same time, you also got to be open to their process as long as the outcome's the same, because their process may be better.
Yes.
But having a process for them to follow, like, this is what we need to do, and this is what the outcome needs to be. And here's an outline of how you do it. So a good example is remote car starters, right? I have SOP for remote car starters, but you can't write a step by step. Every car is different, right? It's crazy. So I have, what the job is and how I want the end result, how I want it to look, how I want my connections, where I want placement, obviously within reason, because things are a little different, but I want that antenna on all my cars to be in the same spot. I want my zip ties to be flush cut. I want it military spliced or soldered. There's no under that. So the SOP is like the bounds they have to stay in for that job, but how they get to that result, I can leave to them as long as it's efficient.
And how often do you supervise that? Do you do spot checks or? So
not as much as I probably should. Not as much as I should. I used to more so. I'll let you in on a little secret that maybe you know. I'm actually developing an app. It was supposed to be completed 18 months ago, and it's now been escalated to higher ups and whole nine yard. It's a disaster. But I got this app where you can take pictures of the end result, and it poses multiple solutions. One, the technician has to take a picture of behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So they're obviously going to hold themselves more accountable to my standards because it can be spot checked from a computer at any time. Two, if there's a problem down the line, so a year ago, we had a customer come in. He had a problem with his car from Subaru. Subaru is claiming that the nut connector we used in the car was the problem. Mr. Customer, we don't use nut connectors in our store, right? Well, no one else has touched my car, blah, blah, blah. Well, having that app and that picture saved would have prevented that situation. Here's a timestamp, dated photo of the install when it left the building. There's no nut connectors in there. So one day it'll be done. Supposedly it's been done for over a year. They just got to upload it. So yeah, that's another story for another day.
Yeah, we'll have that discussion afterwards. But that sounds really neat. I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it's also so there's photos, but then there's also check boxes. So it can be like if you're doing a radio, was the microphone wire zip tied above the gas pedal, right? Because that was something I found some people forgot. Or is the microphone plugged in, right? You prevent that phone call of, guys, I love my radio. It's great, but no one can hear me.
Yeah, it might be plugged in the wrong hole.
Yeah. So does it work is the question.
Yeah.
So now you can hold your staff accountable. Hey, man, you checked off the box that microphone works. It's not working. Why are we checking the box?
Find out. Make sure the Bluetooth works when you send it out.
Yeah.
That's what we do. We check everything.
And to me, it's more of a reminder, right? Because we all forget. We all forget little things. So it's having that checklist to walk through is a reminder of, does this work? Does this work? Does this work? Before the car gets pulled out of the bay.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the whole point of it. And then the pictures.
Nice. Would that work with Shop Monkey? Or can you get them to include it?
I don't know. They kind of have their own thing in Shop Monkey.
Yeah.
So I don't think that would be my target customer. So anyway, the checklist part's free.
Mm-hmm.
For the photos, you have to pay because you need the cloud storage. But Shop Monkey, they kind of have it. If you want to build it out in Shop Monkey, you can actually do that in Shop Monkey already. You just got to take the time to build the checklist.
Well, $1,500 a month. Yeah, Canada.
So it's more people that use, say, QuickBooks or TSS.
Yeah.
It's you can check the vehicles in with it. You can check the jobs you're doing, and you walk through and anything that you want done. So I want a backup camera. I want to make sure that hole is siliconed behind the license plate. Here's a picture of it done, so we don't have to take the license plate off and check. And there's no questions later on. He said, she said.
Yeah.
So, but anyways,
So what else you got in the 80-20 rule? Life stuff.
We talked about vendors. We were on task. I think task we covered pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Advertising. A lot of times in this is my last one. So a lot of times in this industry, we kind of just throw spaghetti at the wall and hope it sticks. Where if you can look at your advertising and see what 20% is bringing you 80% of your customers, instead of throwing your money here, here, and here, you throw it all right here to that 20% to yield your best results.
And if none of it's working, just put it back in your pocket.
Right. So I've tried Facebook, I've tried Google. So far Google's the best for me.
Well, people always, I heard you from Google. I found out about you from Google. Well, why not put money there, right? But put it in. Don't just throw it. Because you're right.
What?
Put it in wisely.
Yeah.
Like Google Ads is one thing, but there's way better ways of doing it.
I also feel that Google yielded me better customers and more serious customers. I've tried Yelp. Obviously, everyone has their opinions on Yelp. But Yelp, I got a lot of inquiries, but they weren't serious. Facebook, I get a lot of I'm interested, but they ghost me. Google, they type it in, they
Mhm.
get a phone number, and they call our store. They
Correct.
have to put effort in, so they're a more serious customer, right? They don't just gotta click a quick button and bam, it's done, right? I mean, we've all listed stuff on Google, Facebook Marketplace, and we know how shitty that is. So
Yeah,
Google's
that's
my 20%.
the Facebook Marketplace people are the 20% that I really don't want because there's so much work,
Right.
like about 80%.
I always called it sifting through a haystack for that little gem.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 3 out of 100 people that click I'm interested are actually interested.
Yeah.
The rest were drunk, their finger slipped. They just felt like pressed the button. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. What I found was that just got more exposure. It didn't really count out any cash flow for me, like none.
So I did Facebook pretty heavily a year and a half ago. I had this marketing agency. They ran me amazing ads.
Mm.
And I would get, God, I'd get 20 messages a day, but I get just a couple jobs a week. And I'm like, this is like, but they're like, well, look at all the leads you got. And I'm like, I don't care about the leads. Like, I need the money in my store. I'm paying you guys a lot of money to make these videos. The videos were awesome. The company was awesome,
Mm-hmm.
but just Facebook.
Yeah,
Oh,
I've spent tons of money every month, like $3,000 a month just for Facebook stuff. And it was kind of nuts because the stuff was gorgeous, but you're right, it didn't earn me any cash. It's kind of like if your store does $1 million a year, but it costs you 900 grand to do that, who cares about the outside number? It's all about what you get to keep, right?
right.
And it's again the 80-20 rule. I want to keep 20%, right? For the company, not just for me personally, but in order to grow the company, 20% would be massive, usually around 12% normal. But again, the 80-20 rule on outcome to income should be in your favor, not theirs.
Yeah. And it kind of brings up another thing with the 80-20 rule that I've learned, So I've learned now as I've transitioned into this, more of a CEO style role, that there's a lot of things that, like, I used to think I had to pay attention to all these other little things. And I've learned that the more I let those go, the more they run themselves, like, overseeing the employees and things like that, the more they run themselves and it works. And my time's better spent actually looking at my money,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I mean, I've been heavily looking at my money this year, and man, I'm finding so many mistakes from vendors, mistakes from me, that I'm like, man, I've been hemorrhaging money. And because I don't spend my time paying attention to that, it's I spent my time elsewhere. I'm losing money where I don't even see it. So same with marketing, right? You got to spend the time looking at it because it's going to yield a greater result if you can pay attention, make sure it's profitable, and profitable in the sense that you're saying, because 20 leads a day does nothing if you're not making money. So,
What about personal?
so
8% of your day is at work and 20% at home with your loved one. You could do better. What do you think?
I think you could do better. I do better now. As I've grown, I've learned that, more time at home is important. But the big one is when I go home, I don't know how this, I'm trying to think of how it applies to the 80-20, but when I go home, I put my phone from work away.
Good.
Right. Where a lot of times in the past, or a lot of us, I believe that we're always attached to our phone. And are you really spending that time with your family? Are you really present? Are you really focused on them? So that, that 20% time at home, if that's all you're getting, make it the best 20% so you can yield the best results.
Hmm.
Did that work?
No, I think it's more the 80-20 on that is you're at home. You might do 20% of work stuff at home, but 80% should be with your loved ones from my perspective. And sometimes I'm just the loved one and I just need my personal time. Like
Yeah.
I flew to Toronto this week to go to the CMA show and I brought my daughter because I've never ever gone on a trip with my daughter because, well, nightmare, ex-wife, all that stuff. But we're having a great time. Like, I'm spending most of my time with her and with my mom, and it's a really wonderful family event. And I like family. Well, I like some of my family. I don't like my sister, but anyway, that's a whole different story. My point is that I'm spending most of my time with them, way more than 80% at this point. And I'm calling my wife, and we're talking, and I'm talking to the stores just a little bit, like maybe 3%, because they know I just need some downtime.
Yeah. And that's something else. Like I tell my store, so I do a date night with my wife. And sometimes it's a date day, right? It varies depending on her schedule.
Mhm.
And my store knows when that is. And I'm not available. So I've also, here's a good one. I've learned that I spend a lot of my time being pulled answering questions and doing that time study and stuff like that. I've realized that a large portion of, and that's wasted time. Hey James, hey James, hey James. Right, so I have my employees, they now just make a list. So make a list. We need to talk to me, and I'll come talk to you when I got some free time or downtime, and we'll go through your list. Unless it's important, right? There's a line there, but those little things that can wait an hour, because I don't know how you are, but I can't walk from here to the bathroom without my name being called at least once. So
I transitioned from the owner to a person that was there to a person that's not always there. And that took some time and some effort and some mistakes. And it's a process. Sorry,
yeah,
Um, but if that's what you want to do, there's ways around it. Like, call me. I'll tell you how I did it. Like, one step at a time. Because I don't want to be the guy that everybody asks for on the phone. Hey, is Keith there? And he's like, yeah, I want to buy a car stereo. I was like, I have salespeople. Why are you calling me? I could
yep,
give a crap. Tell me when the deal is done. I'll show you how it works. Like, I don't need to be there for anything, really. And I wasn't angry like that when I said it to the people. I just said, you know what? I've transitioned to a different part of the company, which is true because I'm sales and marketing and other things that really have nothing to do with being on the floor or an installer anymore. I'm not an installer anymore. Ask any of my techs. I'm not allowed in the bay. Every once in a while I sneak in because I like that stuff, but um, I do owner stuff. That's my main focus, my main job in life. So don't call me up to get a time to book in for your fucking car, please.
yeah. I'm still technically acting manager slash CEO. So I don't have anyone to fill that manager slot. So I'm still working on it, but I am working on preparing myself for that transition when the time's right, like documenting
Mhm.
my job. But I don't really install anymore. I had to go back yesterday for the first time in a while and explain to them why a sub box didn't fit and make it fit for them.
Bigger hammer.
They just needed to remove the carpet. It was simple. Um, so that, and then Mondays I do got to sell, but we're changing to Monday through Friday in our store, right? And that's another 80-20 rule.
Hmm.
Um, I realized Saturdays our sales weren't that good, and it was more of a convenient day for install. So I've transitioned. We're now Monday through Friday because Monday had better sales than Saturday. And now we're all here Monday through Friday. So hopefully that's going to make my business better.
Yeah, the demographic always dictates that. I have one store that's really awesome on Saturdays, and the other two, meh.
Yeah. I mean, we're busy sometimes like 9 to 12.
Mhm.
That's it. We're Monday, we're busy 9 to 12. Then we have a little bit of a lull. And then we're busy again 3 to 5.
Yeah,
So it made sense.
right. So this is where you get to follow the flow. So on Google, it shows you what busy times are at your store. I don't know how they get the information. I guess how many cell phones walk into your store or something.
Yeah.
It really shows when you're going to be busy, when you're not going to be. So I follow that like all the time.
You know, that's so simple and
Mhm.
so genius. I don't even want to admit that I never thought of it, but that's actually really smart. And I use it for other businesses all the time. Oh, I got to go grocery shopping. When is everyone else there?
3 in the morning.
Yeah. So that's actually a great idea.
Yeah, there's so many out there that we always forget about or don't see our application for, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm going to go look.
if you look at those peaks and valleys on Google for your store, you can use the 80-20 rule on that as well, right? So when it's peaky, use 80% of your staff up front. And when it's a lull, they go in the back. There's only 20% up front, or whatever that mixture is.
Right. Because you want to maximize
Talent.
that time with the customer too. Because
Mhm.
what a lot of people don't realize is I don't care who you are, if you're working with the customer and you got customers behind them, you're rushing. Even if it's subconsciously, you're rushing that customer. You're not giving them the fair time of day. You're not optimizing that sale. You're trying to move on to the next customer.
Yep. And that cheapens the experience for them. And that creates your reputation.
Yeah. No, it does. Oh, and it shortchanges the customer,
Mhm.
because you may settle on something and that customer is never truly satisfied.
Yeah. That's why
So
we're salespeople. We ask a lot of questions.
yeah, no, we do too. And we've been working really hard here at overcoming objections. And it's a bit of an uncomfortable transition at first, especially the wife one, but we're getting really well at it and moving forward, and it's working.
Good. So you don't
You
ask,
know?
who wears the pants in your family?
Well, so we had a customer the other day. The customer came in, he was inquiring about some radio, I think, and my sales guy said, "Sure, no problem. I'd love to show you. Is anyone else going to be involved in the decision making process?"
Ooh, Dell Ellis. Nice.
And he goes, "Well, it's for my wife's car. She's going to be." And he goes, "Well, you know what? I'd really appreciate it if she came in with you and we all walk through the features together so that you guys can make the right decision for her." And the guy said, "Okay, fair enough." And he left. And he came back a couple days later with his wife. And I
Nice.
actually don't know if we closed that sale, but
Doesn't matter. Doing their job. That's the
yeah.
most, your reputation is more important than any dollar amount.
And the other one, we pair it a lot when people say, "I need to think about it."
Mm.
Oh, you need to think about it? And then you pause. Well, I'm just blah, 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 blah. So that's another big one that we use here.
Nice. Did you ask the other question? What is it that I didn't say that you're looking for?
No, I've never thought of that one.
So
That's a good one.
people don't buy things because they're not for sure 100% on what you're selling or what you're asking them to buy. Right. So obviously there's a question missing. And so we ask the next question, right? So whatever intuitivity comes out of my mouth, right? So if a person comes in and is like, well, this is really nice, but I'm really not sure. Like, oh, well, what would make you sure? I don't know. Like, it's your choice. It's your car. I don't really care what you buy. My job is to educate you on the things that we do offer and the reasons that we offer them. It's your job to figure out what's going to be best suited for you and your needs. So I'm wondering what I missed.
Yeah, no, that's a great question.
Yeah.
So a little bonus content for you guys here.
Same one.
So I guess, if anyone has any questions or examples on the 80-20 rule, and they're watching this later, pop them in the comments. And I think it'd be good to have some real world examples down there for people to kind of see and hear. That's always nice.
Mm-hmm.
And or any other topics you guys want covered. We got a list, but we'd love to add to it.
Yes. And the reason that we chose 1:30 today, and we usually chose 1:00 because on Google it says that we're really busy on this website at 1:00. But it doesn't show 1:30. It just shows between 1 and 2. So we thought, well, let's try it at 1:30 to see if that changes anything. So the 80-20 rule again, we tried the bottom half. I'm not sure how many people are watching right now. James, can you tell?
We had between 4 and 6 pretty steadily through the whole thing.
Okay.
So a
tiny
bit better than normal.
Okay.
But I think it's also that consistency. We haven't been as consistent as we'd like.
I blame you.
And so what we want to do, so everyone knows, is every week we're going to come on here. We're going to discuss a topic, and so 1 week we'll discuss a topic. Next week we want to have a guest, Next week we'll discuss a topic, and we're going to cycle through that.
And wait, do you people know why we're doing this? Sorry, I didn't mean to say you people. Does anybody know why we're doing this? Not hearing any answer.
We talked about it the very first one, but it doesn't
Yeah.
hurt to remind people.
We do it because we want to grow as human beings by helping other people grow in this atmosphere.
Right. So with that said, your feedback helps us grow and gives us topics to, because if you guys give us a topic that you're having a hard time with or struggling with, and Keith and I are going to take that topic, we're going to go back, we're going to brainstorm it, and we know it's something that we're struggling with or someone else is struggling with, and it's going to help us figure out how to be better at it, even if we're already good at it, how to be better at it. And we're going to share it with the rest of this MES family, and hopefully everyone becomes a little bit better and raise the overall standards of our industry.
Yes. Bottom line, what
Yep.
can we do better at whatever we're doing?
So we want all your feedback, even if it's negative, on what we can do better. It's about having the right people in the right seat. Who said that? Robert. Yeah, 100%. So I think it's good. We went a little longer than I expected today. I did have a 2:15 appointment. I'm glad I moved it. But
yep, just 7 minutes.
How about the topic of push lines versus pull lines?
Nice. I like that one. That's a great one. Not everybody can get the JLs and the Focals in their store, but when they do, you have a choice.
Oh, I got you.
You can
I
either
didn't understand that.
or show them other brands like AudioFrog or something that they've never heard of that will actually do a better job and more profit.
I mean, at the end of the day, I feel when customers come into a specialty store like this, most of our customers, they're buying us and not necessarily the brand. So we're really good at that. And especially if they are looking for the brand, we're good at saying, hey, and you're going to lose some of them, 20% of them, because they want that name brand that you don't carry, and that's okay.
Yeah. So I get people in, like some of my hashtags are Pioneer or Kenwood or Sony or whatever, and they come in because of those name brands. And they may buy those name brands, but I can also maybe show them another product that works really, really well with that head unit that would be beneficial for them. Push and pull. Pull them in with one. We don't really push, but the idea is there that we push another name brand product on them to maximize the sale or to fulfill their needs better.
We don't really do that as much. We used to, but it didn't really work out as so well for us.
Well, take the 20 rule on that. How many people come in looking for a major name brand? Probably 80%.
It's less for us.
Oh, you don't get those guys. Back in the day, I used to have Alpine everything, blah blah blah.
Yeah, I know we get them, but they're not necessarily looking for it.
Okay.
But some of them, a lot of times, I hear it's those name brands that they were really good in the 90s or early 2000s that just aren't the same. It's usually those brands that I get. So ones that have been bought out and bought out and bought out.
PPI.
So when I got into I'll tell this last story and then I'm done.
Okay.
When I got into the car audio world, it was PPI or Extant. Those were the two. So I'd done the Kenwoods and the Jensens and all that stuff. But then I was trying to get into my nice stuff, and it was PPI or Extant. And that's the two I was looking between. And I ended up going with the Extant. And I actually picked up 2 years ago 2 Extant amps. One's brand new in the box.
Nice.
So I don't know what I'm gonna do with them, but that's kind of where my heart is in that old car audio world. I had a big Extant sticker on the back of my Eclipse, and so
that's awesome.
But all right, you got anything else you want to add?
No, I'm good. I have a guy looking at me because I'm in a Porsche in a small town and he's never seen one before. So I gotta go. Have fun.
All right. Thank you. Have a great day. Enjoy Toronto.
Bye bye.